You are listening to The Soul's Quiet Call, written by Akumah and voiceover by Sara.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 33, The Beginning of Forever. The early morning sun rose slowly, painting the sky in delicate shades of peach and gold. The city, still half asleep, seemed to hold its breath as the first light of day crept over the horizon. Meera stood at the window of their apartment, the soft glow of the morning catching the edges of her features as she gazed out at the world below. The city had always seemed so vast, so filled with noise and uncertainty, but today, with the sun casting its first light, it felt different. It felt like the beginning of something new. She smiled softly to herself, her thoughts drifting to the journey she and Aarav had walked together. It felt like a lifetime ago that they had been two people lost in their own pain, their own fears, unsure of what the future held. But now, standing here with the world unfolding before them, she couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. How far they had come together. Aarav's footsteps were soft behind her, but she didn't need to turn around to know it was him. She felt the steady warmth of his presence, the unspoken bond that had deepened over the months they had spent learning, growing, and healing. When she finally did turn, she found him standing there, watching her, a small, knowing smile on his lips. "You look like you're deep in thought," he said, his voice low and full of affection. Meera's smile widened, and she shook her head slightly. "I was just thinking about everything. How much we've been through. How different everything feels now." Aarav moved closer, stepping beside her at the window, his gaze also turning toward the city as the sun rose higher. "It's hard to believe, isn't it? How much has changed." His hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally, as if it was always meant to be. "It doesn't feel real sometimes," Meera admitted softly. "There were moments when I thought we wouldn't make it, when I wasn't sure if I could let go of the fear of the past. But now..." She let out a breath, her heart swelling with an emotion she could barely contain. "Now, I don't know how I ever lived without you." Aarav's thumb traced a gentle pattern on the back of her hand, and he tilted his head slightly to look at her, his gaze filled with something deep and unwavering. "I feel the same way. When I think about everything we've been through, how much we've both changed. It's like we were meant to find each other. Like we were always meant to walk this path together." Meera's heart swelled at the sincerity in his voice. There had been so many moments when she wondered if love was something that could really last, something that could withstand all the challenges life threw at them. But now, with Aarav by her side, she had come to realize that love wasn't about perfection. It was about growth, about learning to trust, about choosing each other, day after day, no matter what. "I never thought I could love someone the way I love you," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "But it's not just about love. It's about everything we've built together, the trust, the understanding. We've created something strong, something real." Aarav's fingers tightened around hers, pulling her closer. "I used to think love was something I had to guard myself from," he said, his voice thick with the vulnerability he had once kept locked away. "But with you, I've learned that love isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace. To build on. And I'll never take it for granted again." Meera looked up at him then, her heart filled with a warmth that reached every corner of her soul. "And I'll never take you for granted. Not after everything we've been through. We've faced our fears, our doubts, and we've come out stronger. Together." The city below them began to stir as the world awoke to a new day. But for Meera and Aarav, it wasn't just another morning, it was the beginning of everything they had fought for. They had both shed their old selves, their old fears, and had come to understand that love was not about what they could see or control, it was about trust, vulnerability, and the courage to face whatever came their way. As the first rays of sunlight bathed the room, Meera and Aarav shared a quiet moment, simply standing together, breathing in the peace they had created. In that silence, there was no need for words. They had said everything they needed to say, not just in their conversations, but in the way they held each other, in the way they understood each other without having to explain everything. After a few moments, Aarav broke the silence, his voice soft but filled with certainty. "So, what's next for us?" he asked, his gaze searching hers. Meera took a deep breath, her fingers still intertwined with his, feeling the steady pulse of his hand in hers. "We keep moving forward. Together. I don't know what the future holds, Aarav. But I do know this, we've built something here. And I'm not afraid of what comes next. As long as we're together, I know we can face anything." Aarav's smile was gentle, full of warmth, and he leaned down to press a soft kiss to her forehead. "Then that's all we need. As long as we're together." They stood there for a long while, their hands still holding tight, their hearts beating in sync as they watched the world unfold beneath them. There would be challenges ahead, of course. No journey was ever without its obstacles. But for the first time, they both understood that their strength didn't come from avoiding those challenges, it came from facing them together. The future was unknown, uncertain. But it didn't matter. They had each other. And that was enough. As the morning light filled the room, Meera and Aarav made a silent promise to each other. They would never stop growing, never stop building. They would keep choosing each other, day after day, no matter what life threw their way. They were no longer two people walking separate paths, haunted by their fears. They were partners, two souls bound by love, trust, and a shared future. And with that, they stepped forward together, ready to face whatever came next. The beginning of forever.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Refer to the channel playlist for a better experience and close your eyes to let your imagination run wild. Subscribe.